What's up, Crypto Knights? Derek here, and I want to talk to you about something super exciting today, something on the horizon in the cryptocurrency space that I believe is going to be absolutely massive. And I know that we definitely need something massive to happen this year, as it hasn't really been a very good year in the cryptocurrency space so far. Right now, as I'm making this video, we've got Bitcoin trading right about that $7,500 level again. It's been kind of a slow grind down over the last few months, and really just not a lot of excitement overall in the markets in the cryptocurrency space so far in 2018. However, as we enter June, we keep seeing more and more and more positive news coming out. And it's kind of shocking to a lot of us in the space how the news doesn't seem to be reflecting the reality of the markets. And like, no matter what happens, no matter how much good news comes out, it's not actually moving the market in any meaningful way, and we really just keep heading down, okay? And I believe that we're going to break out of that trend very, very soon here, but I also believe that by the end of 2018, we are going to see new all-time highs, and we're going to see a bull run that makes us just absolutely dizzy and, you know, puts the crazy run that we saw back in December and January to shame. And that is maybe a bold thing to say, or it seems pretty bold at this moment in time with where the markets are and how much of a struggle it's been in 2018 so far. But I have several reasons for believing that. And one of them, and it's a big one, is the one that I want to talk to you about today. And it's the fact that I believe that by the end of 2018, China will have removed the ban on cryptocurrency trading, and that the exchanges will open up again in China, and there will be a big boom in the markets. So why do I believe that? Well, let's look at this first story here today that I've got on my screen right in front of me. And this is Chinese President Xi Jinping, who just came out and made a statement at the Chinese Academy of Sciences about blockchain. And he said, ever since the start of the 21st century, a new generation of industrial revolution is substantially reshaping the global economic structure, with artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and blockchain constantly making application breakthroughs. So why is this such an important statement? Why is it such a big deal for the president of China to come out and make this kind of very positive, very bullish statement about blockchain technology? Not necessarily cryptocurrencies. I mean, he's not really saying go out and buy Bitcoin or anything like that, but he is coming out and being very pro blockchain. And we want to ask why this is important. Well, the very next day, this statement came out in the Global Times, which is an English language Chinese state-owned press. Okay, it's almost all of the press in China is pretty much government state controlled. There's a lot of censoring that goes on, a lot of control of the media and kind of the message that gets out there. So when these kind of things come out in the press out there, it kind of gives you a little bit of a behind the scenes view of where the country might be going, where the politicians might publicly be taking the country moving forward. And so this particular opinion piece says improved regulation makes more sense than just saying no to Bitcoin in China. And that's 100% accurate. But basically what the argument is being made here is that it's time to get rid of the cryptocurrency ban. It's time to instead bring in regulation so that this industry can grow and blossom in the country, and it can be done in above the board way where the state obviously will tax it and do all of the things that states do, that governments do when it comes to different financial products. But this is a market of nearly 1.4 billion people. And don't get it twisted, okay? There is still a lot of cryptocurrency purchasing, trading, blockchain development, all that kind of stuff is still going on in China every single day. It's never really stopped, but it's all gone to peer-to-peer, over-the-counter trading, right? So there's no publicly operating exchanges inside of China right now. And most of the biggest Chinese-owned exchanges have left the country in response to the ban that took place back in September of 2017. Of course, that was one of the issues that kind of led to a bit of a bear market at that time of last year. So you can see that the impact of China and the greater Chinese ecosystem of developers and blockchain-based projects, still, regardless of the legality of the exchanges or not, plays a big role in cryptocurrency and in the greater scene. Okay, so I believe that for a number of reasons, this idea of removing the cryptocurrency ban, exchange ban, is going to be proposed this year. And I believe that the ban will be removed, the exchanges will come back, and this one act, or I guess this one fundamental change in policy in China, being that it is such a huge market and has such a huge impact on the cryptocurrency space. Before the ban took place, China was far and away the largest market for cryptocurrency. Okay, it was significantly larger than any other market, including the U.S. market. And since that happened, some of that capital and trading and all that has moved to Japan and to Korea. And a lot of Chinese-owned companies such as Binance have begun to move to other countries like Malta and just basically take their business elsewhere because they haven't been able to legally operate their businesses in China, even though they would like to do so. So make no mistakes about it. China has a huge impact on the industry, regardless of whatever we want to say or think. The impact is there, okay? So if China does make the decision to remove the crypto ban and allow this kind of industry to flourish, I believe this one single event taking place could be the start of a monumental bull rally, just an absolutely astronomical run, great time to be in the markets. And that's something that we've all been waiting for. And I do believe that's going to take place this year. So as I say that, please keep in mind that if you miss the 10 best days in the market in a year, right? If you would have missed the 10 best days for Bitcoin over the last several years, then Bitcoin would be down negative 25% year after year. And obviously that's not true. It's up thousands and thousands of percent. But most of those gains come in a period of only 10 days each year. And this is funny because you can actually see this in other markets. This doesn't just happen in crypto. It's also, the stock exchange, other types of financial markets. Typically there's like a 10-day period where almost all of the gains are made. Okay. And so I bring that up because if something like this were to happen, and again, I do believe that it's highly likely, I am very confident that the Chinese ban will end in 2018. If something like this were to happen, this could be an event that kicks off and spurs that crazy 10-day run, okay? So I just want to put that out there first. Now, let's talk about why China, what kind of signs are leading me to believe this, and why do I think this is happening? So China and blockchain, most patents and more governmental funds. China already as a country has more blockchain patents than any other country in the world, including the US, including Japan, etc. The most patents of blockchain technology have come out of China. And so even though cryptocurrencies can't be traded on an exchange, in a legal manner, right? They can be traded peer-to-peer, but there can be no actual exchange that operates in China and takes fiat for cryptocurrency. Even though that's the case, the development has never stopped, okay? Development is stronger than ever. There are so many Chinese-based blockchain projects being built, and it's all kind of happening under the radar. So because Chinese companies can't hold ICOs, they also cannot operate an exchange or anything like that. It's very hard to get outside interest from people outside of China, especially with the language barrier and everything. So because of that situation, the Chinese government and Chinese businesses are missing out on a lot of economic potential. So a lot of incentives that can come from this. So the Chinese government is also recently funding many blockchain initiatives. You can see on this article that I'm bringing up here for you that they've put in $1.6 billion. And that was actually just in one fund, but they've actually put in more than that. Several $billion has been granted by the Chinese government to go directly into blockchain initiatives, right? Funding blockchain-based companies that are operating in China, okay? So the Chinese government is directly financially backing many different blockchain initiatives, blockchain projects that are in China. Now, beyond that, and this is where it starts to get really important here, China now has 9 of the world's 20 biggest tech companies. So the US still has the majority of the world's largest tech companies, but China's presence is rapidly growing. And this is from MarketWatch here. China is nearly even with the US when it comes to who's home to the most giant tech companies. So out of the world's top 20 tech companies, the US has 11 of them and China has 9, okay? And you can see them here. You've got Alibaba, Tencent, Ant Financial, Baidu, Didi, all of these different companies. And so why is this a big deal? Well, it's a big deal because of what Xi was talking about in this particular speech that he gave, and that's that technology is the future, okay? And he knows, and many other leaders around the world, including leaders in America and elsewhere, they understand how valuable technology is and what a big deal it means for their economy. So China is working very, very hard to compete directly with the United States, to compete directly with Silicon Valley, to try to take the role as the world's leader in the technology space. And since blockchain is a big part of the future when it comes to technology, and getting ahead of the curve with blockchain and with artificial intelligence and those kind of different things that Xi was talking about in his speech, getting ahead of the curve will allow China to possibly be able to take the lead and really, start to gain a foothold in the technology space. They're doing a great job, but of course, the US, Silicon Valley, this is still the biggest market for tech and where most of the successful companies operate out of. And China, they're being more and more competitive on the global economy, on the global landscape, and that's not going to stop. And it's not just technology, okay? There's more to it than that. And that's one other thing that I want to show you here is we've got to talk about the big kind of elephant in the room, if you will, and that is currency, okay? Now, China is not just in a war for technology or for their economy or whatever. There's also a currency war happening here. And actually, as we speak about it, there's a trade war between America and China. And China has now, for several years, kind of quietly behind the scene, been working to set themselves up with their currency, the yuan or renminbi, whichever you choose to call it. They want to make the renminbi, the RMB, the yuan, the world's reserve currency, okay? And they want to replace the dollar as the world's reserve currency. Now, why does this matter to cryptocurrency? Well, there's one really important reason, and that is that the number one reason that cryptocurrencies and the exchanges were shut down in the first place is that China has very strict capital controls within the country. You cannot actually move more than $50,000 overseas or out of Chinese bank accounts per year as a Chinese citizen. Doesn't matter how much money you have, they won't let you send more than $50,000 overseas. And actually, when you send money overseas and do all that kind of stuff in China, you actually have to fill out tons of forms. They're very, very strict, and they have a lot of control over the economy and the banks and everything. So that has kind of worked for them for a while. Obviously, they've managed to grow a lot of wealth, and a lot of people have done very well in China. But the issue with that is if you want to be the world's reserve currency, then you cannot have capital controls, because those two things don't work. Okay, you need a lot of flow of the yuan all around the world if it's going to be the world's reserve currency, right? You can't, the US dollar can't have capital controls. Okay. The American government can't tell Americans or anybody else that they can't send more than $50,000 overseas, because then how could it be the world's reserve currency? It just doesn't work. So in order for China to meet their goal, which is pretty explicit at this point, you see that the yuan has now also been linked to gold, okay, and also to oil, which is in this particular article talking about the recent Iran oil sanctions and strengthening the petro yuan. Okay, so the yuan is now, there is a oil market in Shanghai as well now. So before, one of the big strengths and one of the big reasons why the dollar has maintained its dominance in the global financial space is that all oil around the world is priced in and settled in dollars. Okay, and now China's taking that on directly as well. We also have China and Russia talking about creating a kind of two-party, two-state backed currency that is backed by gold and bringing the gold standard back, okay? And all of these things are leading up to one really big bombshell, which is that the dollar is on the verge of meeting its end. And I've believed that and said it for a long time. Many people have said it for a long time. I still believe it's coming. We just don't know exactly when. But the dollar is basically has lost 99% of its value already. The amount of debt that is backing that dollar is way beyond unsustainable. It's actually astronomical. And so China is making some pretty bold and pretty forceful moves now on several fronts against the American dominance of the global economy. Okay, so it's on the technology front and it's also on the currency front. And what do you know? If you look at what those two things combined equal, you've got cryptocurrencies, okay? We're talking about blockchain-based technology and we're talking about cryptocurrencies, digital assets, okay? So China, if they can get this right, and they can become the nation that leads the pack in the blockchain space and gets their gold-backed currency, you know, there hasn't been a gold-backed currency since the American government went off the gold standard in 1971. And of course, we've seen how much inflation and debt and war and everything else has come since then. So the value, especially with how out of touch a lot of the world's economy is with reality right now, I mean, it's just kind of nuts, right? So if China were to come out and do something like this, you know, they've already launched the petro yuan. They are talking about a gold-backed yuan. They are working hard to replace the dollar as the world's reserve currency. If they can do this at the same time as taking the lead in the blockchain-based space, well, it's very possible that China can win the future. And they know, President Xi has pretty much stated it in this speech here, that this is where the future is and where the future value lies in order to be competitive, and not just be competitive, because China doesn't want to just compete. They want to be the world's leader, okay? They want to be the world's largest economy. They want to be the ones that are setting the rules and everybody else is coming to the table to meet with, okay? And for the longest time, that's been the United States. And these are the areas right here with cryptocurrencies, blockchains, this kind of technology where China can beat them to the punch. And if they do it right, they can find themselves very quickly as the world's largest economy and the leader in both finance and technology, which for China would be an absolutely massive win. And for those reasons, I believe that we will see the ban on cryptocurrency trading and the exchanges and all of that. It will be scrapped in 2018. I also believe that they will remove the ban against Chinese citizens investing in ICOs or Chinese companies holding ICOs. I believe we'll see those rules struck down as well. And all of this combined and coming together is something that will provide a real kick in the ass for the cryptocurrency markets and will help us get to new all-time highs by the end of 2018. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think that China will end the ban on cryptocurrency exchanges, end the ban on ICOs? Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think, there's no way this happens and China will continue the ban and none of this is going to change? Let me know either way. Let me know what you think. We'd love to see your comments. We'd love to hear from you. And please go ahead and click like on this video, subscribe, all that awesome stuff. And I will see you again very, very soon. Peace.